Okay, so in the spirit of Tom's recent travel advice to be flexible, we're mixing things up a little by having me, instead of Tom, introduce a segment. So, welcome to Overlanders Then and Now. I'm Jim King, and I'm joined here by my college buddy, traveling companion, and after all that, still friend, Tom Bingle. How'd I do, Minx?
Not bad, Jim. You might want to up the energy a bit,
Oh,
but Jimmy, what do they say in Hollywood? The camera loves you.
Oh, well, they also say the camera never lies, which is a,
Yeah.
a concern for me. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, today we're going to reflect on one of our earliest and most memorable treks from
Yeah.
the Norwegian capital of Oslo, or Oslo, as you like to say.
Yeah, also Oslo. Yeah, yeah.
Oslo, sorry. Yeah, thank you. To Flom. And then we split. You went to Voss in search of Knut Rockne's spirit, and I went on to Bergen. How was that? Bergen? In search of that seaport's excellent fish.
Well, Jim, readers of the blog know that the fish was just one of your motivators to bypass Voss.
Oh, true. Bergen also has an excellent symphony orchestra.
Oh, Jim, yes, yeah, I know how
All
much symphonies mean
right.
to you.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get to our now reflections.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about over the years when we get together and look back on Norway is the power of nature.
Yeah, yeah.
This seems to have been especially memorable for you.
Doc, unbelievable and truly moving. As
Mhm.
my previous life, the only truly different and desolate geographic region I'd ever been were the Four Corners
Hmm.
region, where the states of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona collide or meet, as my brother Fred was playing in a baseball Little League World Series in Farmington, New Mexico.
Wow,
Now,
really?
yeah, yeah. And now we quoted part of my impression in the blog, but if you bear with me, let me add a few sentences that still resonate with me today. Doc, it still does. You ready?
Okay,
Quote.
go for it.
This beauty of nature, of the fjords, mountains, clouds, hints at a simple phrase. The wonders of nature are still here in all its glory and will continue to be here. This power of nature makes a human, or me, feel insignificant. Truly a humbling moment.
Beautiful reading there, Binks. Very nice. But I think the real question everyone wants an answer
Yeah,
to is,
yeah.
did your brother Freddie's team win?
Oh, no, they did not.
Ah,
But Doc, the
too bad.
family took the train out west.
Hmm.
A bit of foreshadowing of the train trips ahead on different continents. Anyway, James, back to Norway. Jimmy, here, let's go back to you. Did you experience the same sense of awe on that sometimes harrowing ride on the train?
Oh, it was harrowing. And
Yeah,
but
yeah, it
as
was.
as you know from the hundreds of train rides we took together,
Yeah.
I really like just sitting back and watching the passing scenery.
Well, hold
So
on.
I,
Passing scenery, Jim, did you
yeah,
say? It seems like you also often had your nose in a book, a novel, though,
oh,
not a travel guide.
well, that's true. I've always been a reader, but there
Yes,
was
yes,
no
you have.
way I could not look out at that
Yeah.
spectacular scenery in Norway. It was really awe-inspiring. But
Mm-hmm.
the moment I remember most is after we arrived in Flom. Back then, it was such a tiny little place, just a few
Yeah,
cabins.
yeah.
I think at the end of this spectacular what was the
Fjord.
name of that fjord?
Jimmy, are you ready? The Songa Fjord.
Oh, Sunga. Very good. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, it was just a unbelievable sight. And we were sitting on the
That's so
pier
good.
with our new friends, and the stars came
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Well, I'd
yeah,
never seen so many stars. It was unbelievable. And I
yeah.
remember thinking,
Mm-hmm.
now
Mm-hmm.
this is something not everyone gets to see. So I felt very grateful. It also struck me that my family had absolutely no idea where
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was. The last anyone had
Wow.
seen or heard from us was when we took off from Cleveland.
God, that's amazing, Jimmy. That's right. And it's easy to forget that this was decades before the invention of cell phones.
Yeah, so we couldn't text them pictures of our meals, which seems to be the fashion
That was
today.
yellow. Oh, Jimmy, I gotta say, I'm surprised you were thinking about your family. Well, we were sitting with the two nice young women who
Mhm.
had just invited us to share a cabin with them. Were you homesick, Doc?
No, not a bit. And now that you mention it, Bakes, my now memory may be
Yeah.
glazing over what I was really thinking about back then as I stared up at the
But
stars.
good thing Peter from Toronto shared the cabin with us, and he was there to chaperone.
Right. Absolutely. But seriously, the memory is still so vivid that every time I
Yeah,
think of it, it's
yeah.
like I'm looking at a photo of it at that moment. The five of us sitting
Hmm.
on the pier, bundled up against the cold. It was getting cold now. I think it's
Yeah,
late October, early November,
yeah.
staring up at those stars. And I guess I was starting to feel like a true backpacker. I felt, it sounds corny, but I felt free. I wasn't worried about a career, at least for that moment. And I
Yeah.
was free to go wherever and whenever I wanted to. So I was really
Doc,
eager to see more.
yeah,
You?
Doc. That I like that buzz. I think we were starting to feel more comfortable, traveling the way we were. Flom really sparked larger thoughts for me,
Hmm.
Jim, about life in general and how this beautiful scenery made me examine some of my core beliefs. Nature kind of brings that out. My reading of Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov
Oh,
raised these self-reflecting thoughts. Are you ready, Doc? I
go
believe
for it.
and trust in people. I want to help as many people as possible in my life. With this timeless, awesome, overpowering natural world dominating, it really reaffirmed my belief in God. And I need to work out the famous words of Edward Albee, a delicate balance in life, that happy medium of following what you love to do, and for me, helping others, yet living a practical, realistic manner. And for now, I'm in control of my daily existence. Doc, you were right. Basically, as you said, we can do whatever we want.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to belabor the point,
Oh, too
Jim,
late.
but Jimmy, but
Sorry,
but
sorry.
Jimmy, did it have the same effect on you?
Well, I don't think my thoughts were quite as existential, but looking back on it, I think it gave me a sense that whatever things I was worried about back then, would work out for the better.
Yeah.
The universe takes care of itself despite all the horrible things it's witnessed throughout human
Mhm.
history, and even today, unfortunately. All right, this is getting way too philosophical.
Yeah,
So
Jim.
let's talk about our decision to split. You to Voss, and I was off to Bergen.
Yes, Jim. True to our new way of traveling, we
Mhm.
separated. This time overnight. Like a big deal.
All
And
right.
made plans to meet up the next day in a city neither of us had visited.
Mhm.
Again, this was back when we couldn't be in constant touch, so it took a bit of planning. So each, we'd be traveling alone, taking different routes.
Did that make you at all nervous?
Doc, even to this day, yes, I can faintly remember that feeling. But the great thing about it, it was that it forced me to strike up conversation with others on the train and on the youth hostel where I stayed in Voss. For
Hmm.
example, I met a Chinese-born but now an American scientist and her husband, and she left me with this quote about American life. On Long Island, everyone is concerned only about PTA, their lawns, and Little League baseball.
Well, what else is there? Well, interesting little
Yeah.
perspective. But I want to make a correction. I have to. I don't think you've ever
Yeah.
had to force yourself to strike up a conversation with
Jim.
strangers. But
Oh, Jim.
I do agree with you about traveling alone. It forces you to
Hmm.
reach out to
Hmm.
others. And that, you know, uh, frankly, that's harder for
Yeah.
me than it was for you. But I think I got better at it as we went along.
Yeah,
You
Doc,
think?
I remember seeing that
Hmm.
kind of familiarity or ease,
Hmm.
as we got further on into the trip, just of you approaching people. So wonderful. Doc, so I went to Voss,
Thanks.
birthplace of Newt Rockne, the
Hmm.
famous Notre Dame and college football coach in the 1920s. And I looked hard to find any memorial of Newt. I even asked around the people in Voss, but only found one small plaque on a rock.
Oh, how that's appropriate, right? Rockney on a
Yeah.
rock.
Oh, I see what you did there, Jimmy.
Very, very clever.
Now I know that later that they installed a statue of him in town, but when I was there, virtually nothing. And you, Doc, went on to Bergen alone, but you weren't
Right.
alone when you reached that city, right, Jimmy?
I know what you're asking. Okay. I did meet up with Brenda, who was
Uh-huh.
kind of surprised to see me. I don't
Yeah.
think she expected me to show up. And we went to a museum of some sort and, sampled some fish in the Inner Harbor area, which is
Uh,
beautiful.
that's it. Come on, man.
You're not going to give up. Well, let me put it this way. Romance just wasn't in the stars that we
Okay.
were talking about a few minutes ago.
Oh, I won't pry. I won't pry,
Oh,
Doc. But
no.
you reminded me of the old Inner Harbor. I think it's called the Bergen, with all
Hmm.
these Hanseatic League buildings. And just then outside of that area was the wonderful walking around the town, the university nearby.
Hmm.
It just seemed to be a place that I could live, as nature is never far away. And most importantly, Jimmy, we reconnected.
Yeah,
And
it's
it was
great.
great to be back on the road together and now set our sights on that wild and crazy town, Amsterdam.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and another fine accent there. But, talk about a different scene. We're in the quiet serenity of the fjords and Norwegian
Yeah, Jimmy,
countryside
yes.
and off to the charming and many tawdry streets and canals of Amsterdam, which we loved.
Oh,
So,
oh
anyway, we
yeah.
hope all of
Yep.
you watching will join us for that little episode in next
Okay.
week's post. And until then, school, everyone.
Oh, everyone.
I think I got the accent down, but not the timing.
Great. Great, Doc. Wonderful.